Okay, welcome back to another video of how to. Today with a bit of a different format. Recently we've been asked to show players how to shuffle a commander deck, since compared to other formats we have to shuffle with 100 cards instead of 60, and especially for beginners that can be a bit more tricky. So today I will just show you my way or ways of shuffling a commander deck, and hopefully it will improve your shuffle experience and also reduce the time you need to shuffle your pile. So in order to separate my deck or simply count my cards, I often use a pile shuffle, it's sometimes called, but it's not really a shuffle, keep that in mind, since you're not randomizing the card order. It's reversible the way you sort them out, so you should always really shuffle your deck using different techniques. This is simply used to count the cards and make sure, for example, after a match, that you still have your 100 cards with you. So the way I do this, I separate 5 piles. Let's see if you can see that on the camera, like this. And then I take the first 3 cards, and the third card is placed in the middle, and then you go simultaneously by dropping the card from your pile in your left side, like that, and you place the other one in your right hand on the right pile. This needs some practice, and when you start with this, it's really clunky. You're like, I don't know, what am I doing here? And it feels really strange, but in time you will get much faster, and you can separate your deck within less than a minute or something. But as I said, it's just a method to count your cards. So let's assume that you're new to Commander, and yet you are overwhelmed by shuffling 100 cards. So let's just start with 50. And I think the easiest and most efficient way of shuffling a deck is by using the so-called mash shuffle. So you separate the pile you have in hand into 2 piles, and you push either the pile in your right hand into the top side of your other pile, like that. You stress the top part of the left-handed pile, push it into the side of your right-handed pile, but you can also push the bottom of your right-handed pile into the side of your left-handed pile. Sounds a bit complicated, simply needs a bit of practice, and I would recommend you to practice that every now and then. The easiest way to practice shuffling magic cards is by playing more Magic, which is always a good thing. So once you are doing good with 50 cards, you can just add more cards to your pile and go on and go on. At some point you will realize, if you add 100 cards, that even if you have big hands, and that's actually, it's not a good advice to tell people grow bigger hands. So once you end up with your 100 cards, you will realize that it's quite difficult to do it the same way as we did before. I mean, it's possible, but the problem is it gets a bit clunky, as you see, and I figured out it's much easier to do that on the table. So instead of keeping them in hand, you can just do the same on the table. Important, if you're in a tournament situation, you shouldn't show the cards towards your enemy, your opponent, since he will get information about which cards are inside your deck. You should also not point the cards to your direction unless you're able to shuffle your deck without looking at it. So at some point you will just turn your head sideways and you can still shuffle the deck without looking at it. That's the goal to master here. Yeah, there are ways in between. I mean, your opponent always has the option to cut the deck afterwards or give it a shuffle on themselves. That's pretty much it. I mean, there are more ways to shuffle your pile. You can go ahead and do something like this. It doesn't really randomize. It does randomize the cards, but it usually you have like stacks of 6, 7, 8 cards as you see here. So it doesn't really do the best job, I think. So as I said, start small. You never. I mean, basically, you don't have to shuffle with all the 100 cards. You can also just go ahead and say, okay, in the beginning I will just separate 2 piles here, and then I will separate another pile, and then I can just go take these 2, and then I will shuffle them a bit. And once you finish that, you can just change the piles and switch to the next one. As I said, my sleeves are a bit older, so it's not that easy anymore. But yeah, that's basically it. Just try to practice it, and there's not really a big mystery about that. Practice makes progress. However, I hope that I could give you some valuable tips on shuffling your 100 cards. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. Until then, see you next time, and thanks for tuning in.